Weather Resilience and the Power of Data in Action. We have Paul Walsh and Steve Wysmuller of the Weather Company and IBM really leading, providing the technology solutions, again, building on the conversation we just had, but providing the weather data and technology solutions for our communities, companies, and economies to be more resilient. So thank you so much, Paul, for your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. We were here last year. Obviously, I met Amy, I guess about a year and a half ago or so in New York, and one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I was in Sun Valley last year. It was awesome. The only regret I had is I didn't go to Adventure Day. I am going to Adventure Day tomorrow, for sure. I'm definitely going. What I wanted to do today is I'm not going to talk much. What I want to do is take you a year forward, right? So a year ago, we had been acquired by, by we, I mean the Weather Company. You probably know us as the Weather Channel. We were acquired by IBM. And about a year ago, when I was here, we had been into it for a year. Now we're into it for 2 years. And we've made a lot of progress. We're doing a lot of really cool things, especially at INL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over most of the discussion to Steve to talk about the really cool stuff that we're doing at INL. Before I start, quick introduction, Paul Walsh. I'm the Director of Weather Strategy for IBM Global Business Services, so basically a consultant. Steve, my colleague, same job, only his focus is on government. My focus is generally on retail and CPG. Last year, one of the things I wanted to start off with was a video, and it went horribly wrong. So I want to do a mulligan, and I want to show the video. And the video is really sort of an introduction to the Weather Company and why IBM bought us. It's upbeat, it's cool, and maybe we can sort of change the tenor a little bit and be a little bit more optimistic. And let's see if this works now. It's not working. I love this video, and I've presented this video all over the world. There's another version that's called 100 kilometers. So it's a version that we can provide in the UK and other places. But the reason I like it is because I think it's it provides a great message in terms of why we transformed our company. And by that I mean years ago, and you probably all remember the Weather Channel, was a media company. And we realized 6 or 7 years ago that where we needed to go was more towards becoming a data company, because people were consuming weather information not on the television, but on their mobile phones. And people are connected to the weather in ways that we've never been connected before via social media and things of that nature. So basically what we did was we transformed the company from a media company that also had data to a data and an analytics company that also, oh, by the way, had media. That transformation happened over several years. I joined the company about 7 years ago, and about 3 years ago, all of a sudden we became very attractive to IBM, who is also transforming their company to become more focused on data and analytics and AI and integration. And so it was a weird sort of but magical joining that we did. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would be working for IBM, I would have told you were crazy. But as it turns out, it was a very, very, very important joining of the capabilities that we bring from a global perspective, from a weather data perspective, from a reach perspective, because of the fact that there's so many people connected to the weather via their mobile phones all around the world, and because the weather, as we all know, as we're experiencing right now, is becoming more impactful every single day, and the way that data is being communicated is being more impactful every single day via social media. Businesses now realize that the weather is no longer something that you can ignore. And the weather, of course, is inextricably linked to climate. Stephen Colbert said the weather is nothing but a million little climates. And he's right. And it's where the resilience starts, is where the adaptation starts, is being able to understand from data how the weather is going to impact people, and then using that information to be able to make a change, to change how businesses react to it. We just published 2 months ago a survey that we did with 1,000 CEOs from around the world. This is one of the beauties now of being part of IBM. We've got the resources to be able to do this kind of work, to get a sense for how does a C-suite view the weather problem. And by default, how do they view the climate problem? But the weather problem is more sort of a real time because it is real time. And basically what we found was that the vast majority of the C-suite believed that weather was primarily a negative impact. So a lot of Jeff Goodells out there sitting in the C-suite, when they think about the weather, there was a smaller portion that saw it as an opportunity, but the reality is when we asked where they saw the opportunity wasn't in the weather data itself, but it was in understanding how the weather was impacting their customers via analytics, and then most importantly, integrating those insights into supply chain systems, into demand chain systems, because that's where the value would be. And basically our estimate was that there's probably $500 billion of additional revenue, of additional savings out there via this sort of transformation and rethinking of weather. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Steve, because the work that Steve has been leading, and we started doing this a year ago?
Year and a half.
A year and a half ago with INL, has really turned into something really, really freaking cool, I think.
Yes.
And so I'm going to turn it over to you because I could talk all day.
Thank you, Paul.
And you don't want me doing that. Thanks.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Steve Wysmuller, Global Lead Meteorologist for IBM. I've been with the company 13 years. 2 years ago, when the acquisition occurred, they found out I had a meteorology degree, and they said, hey, we're putting you on the integration team. So Paul and I joined forces. Every day, I get to deal with weather. I was just down in Boise a few weeks ago. Wildfires, weather, you can see the correlation. Climate change. This image is actually one of our clients, a large utility in Southern California. Telephone poles burning, power lines going down, Armageddon. You've seen the images. It's getting really bad. I'm not going to talk about all the bad stuff. I'm an optimist. I'm positive. I want to talk about the cool things we're doing here in Idaho. So today I'm going to share with you an example of one of our clients, Idaho National Lab. You heard from Dr. Peters this morning.
Our favorite client.
I've got Scott and Ira in the back. If just stand up for a real quick second here. Scott Wald, Ira Prey are from Idaho National Lab. Together, this wouldn't be possible without them and their team. So a year and a half ago, almost 2 years in November, we came together. We created a proof of concept. And it was to increase the safety and efficiency of bus operations across 300 miles of roadway, across 890 square miles of road. We looked at 7.6 million data points. This is all information we collected from the folks at INL. We looked at 90 different weather variables, 2 derived indices, and the coolest part of this thing, we hear about AI, we hear about cognitive. We're actually using cognitive AI technology today in production. So it's not something that's, oh, we're going to get to it in 3 to 5 years. We're using Watson visual recognition, natural language processing, and machine learning models. And to get a platform, that's the basic UI. There's all types of features and capabilities here, from a control center, interactive maps. It helps the bus operations improve efficiency, but most importantly, it's reducing risk. So just to understand where this is outside of Idaho Falls, a high desert plain with wind, blowing snow, black ice, and you've got 3,000 employees jumping on a bus every morning, 60 different buses that Scott and I are responsible for, making sure employees safely get to where they need to go. These are nuclear scientists, PhD, postdoc, I mean, just brilliant folks that line up their lunch boxes every morning to get on the bus. So, I was going to show you a live demo of the platform, but it's kind of boring right now because it's 87 degrees and sunny down in Idaho Falls. You're not going to see a whole lot of winter weather or black ice. But I took a snapshot from March 16th of this year. So what I would do is basically jump onto my iPad here, click a little button, and load up the map for INL. This is the site. It starts down south with Pocatello, shoots north to Idaho Falls. You can go west to Arco, north to Rexburg, 900 square miles, huge area. You can switch between day or night, depending on when you're driving. This is a 24/7, 365-day operation. They never leave the site. They've got active things going on that require responsible individuals to maintain. So 69 different locations, points of interest as we call them. That's what Scott and I provided me and said, this is interesting points that we need to understand what's the weather at the puzzle. This is an actual term that they use, 3 different roads all converging together, major thoroughfare. So it's going to be a beautiful day, but back to the March 16th event, it wasn't so beautiful on this day. They had 3 rainy sites, 11 snow different areas. I'm going to sort of point out the 3 rain near Arco. For the snow, we had 11 different areas. The cell tower was picking up some snow. And so we've added some mobile technology to this as well and alerting capabilities. We can geo-fence and alert the drivers or individuals or operators, whoever needs to know. Maybe the director of the lab wants to get a notification when there's a road closure impacting a few thousand folks. So you send a snow notification, you agree to it. I just sent Scott and Ira a nice SMS. Their phones will buzz in a few seconds. And they get these all the time, every time I do this demo, so I appreciate it. So here we go. Down, you can see at the bottom here, this is all on our iPad, mobile phone. The mile markers, 300 miles. Every mile we can change and show the traffic, the snow, or black ice. And these will change colors as the risk increases. So if you can imagine, I'm talking to governments all around the world, and they're like, we want this platform. What did you build for INL? And can we have it for our city? I'm talking to mayors, presidents, various folks. But the coolest part is the road segment. So this is going to be an animation over time. And you can see the road conditions are changing based on the risk of this snow event coming through the area. So we're not just showing you real time what's the road conditions. We've built algorithms to be able to detect and predict black ice 48 hours from now. So I'm going to show you some of those cool analytics. We can pick and do road analysis on any road, the point of interest. I'm going to pick State Highway turnout US 20 past 115th Street. And so here's the snow drift forecast. So 15 hours from now, there's, again, March 16th, not today. There's a probability of some snow drifts occurring. And I'll come back to where in the algorithm did this come from. Driving difficulty. So you got 60 really well-trained drivers, right? No accidents, knock on wood. Really, really outstanding. I've met and was out there earlier this year. Outstanding group. So what's their driving difficulty? Is there a road closure forecast probability? Yes, there is. And right now it's only at 4% because it's a little bit of snow and a little bit of wind, but I'll explain that can certainly jump up. delay forecast. So again, these nuclear scientists, am I going to be delayed 5 minutes? Well, if I'm 5 minutes late, this has a major effect on the operation. So on-time arrival, departure, the temperature, wind. I'm just showing you snapshots of all the different analytics that you can start to do when you combine all that data, and really it gives you insights to be able to make change. So the last part I'm going to cover real quick is the Itd Cameras. Idaho Transportation Department is a collaborator with INL. Open source, we're big into everything open. We connect their RWIS, these are roadside weather information systems, stations. These stations transmit both directions of the highway, so it's a pretty picture. But where it gets interesting is when you start training it. So we took 2,400 images, we trained Watson to look at all these different cameras. At the bottom here, the roads are clear, it's powered by Watson, it knows and can detect snow, if the roads are rain covered, etc. So you can train it. It's pretty simple to do. I'm not going to say it's rocket science, but you show it images. You say, this is snow. This is not. And Scott and Ira love doing this with me all the time. This is anyway. This is a clear road. So we have a few minutes. I wanted to just run through this real quick, see if there are a few questions, keep you on time. But thank you so much for your attention today, and look forward to answering any questions you might have.
If I could just make a couple of points. So the example Steve gave you is one example. It's an awesome example. But it's an example of how organizations, government organizations and retail organizations are rethinking how they're leveraging the capabilities that we have now from a data perspective, from a compute perspective, to be able to use AI and vision recognition to be able to sort of inform people that need to make decisions. And this is happening all over the world. And it's part of the reason that it's happening all over the world is that IBM acquired the weather company, and IBM is completely invested in this. And I'm a new guy to IBM, so I'm not necessarily a cheerleader, but I am somebody that's been doing this kind of work for 20 years. And I can tell you that what's happening now is unprecedented in terms of the level of people like Steve and I all around the world talking to businesses and governments with these kind of solutions. And these are big solutions. We know from the work that we do, and I primarily spend time with retailers and CPG companies, that if we're able to optimize the supply chain, if we're able to help make sure that companies are ordering enough of the right stuff and not too much of it, that they're putting it in the right place, that they're pricing it correctly, that they're marketing it at the right time, all of which benefits all of us as consumers, that the benefits that they get the benefits are significant. They're chain-wide impacts across the entire sort of business. And I'm working with companies like in the UK, Marks and Spencer. We're working, doing some really cool stuff that I can't tell you in detail with a Fortune 1 retailer here. And all of these things are happening very, very fast. So I am very, very optimistic about our ability to leverage data and analytics and the kind of technologies we have now to be able to better deal with the kind of weather we're seeing now.
And the predictive analytics is just incredible. So being able to not just look at, we take historic data, but current data, it's the forecast that becomes super powerful when you connect all that data and can give insights and say, hey, this road's going to be closed, there's snow here, every mile. Our forecasts, the resolution is every 500 meters. And that's 2.2 billion locations around the world. So we can, and that's with one single API, application programming interface, basically a snippet of code that we can embed into almost anything with a Latin long, latitude, longitude, just plug it in and off we go running. So it's delivering those insights, whether it's retail, CPG, governments, travel, transportation, defense intelligence, we cover it all. I'm not here to sell it, but I wanted to really emphasize is how we gain value from building these solutions and working with great folks like INL, true collaborators, applying the science and technology to deliver real-time results. So, Amy? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.